Safety first. As per the last census, the Indian workforce is over 400 million strong. By 2024, that number could very well cross 600 million, a 39.1% of the total Indian population. Over 42% work in heavy industries, use heavy machines, cope industrial hazards. A 17% of India's GDP comes from manufacturing industries. Safety is the first aid of the uninjured. Safety tops all the priorities in industrial sector. Worldwide, we have 340 million occupational accidents and 160 million victims of work-related illnesses annually. 6,000 die every day. Safety is a challenge. Be it any industry, organization, or an employee, everyone needs to be safe. Humans do, machines do. Industrial safety parameters are getting complex with each passing day. Elimination of industrial hazards is a dire necessity. Prevention of work-related injury is a prerequisite. Ask Abhinav Dar, a manager from one of the Fortune 100 companies, who lost his employee to a fatal industrial accident. His workers lost morale. His company lost productivity by 20%. Questions stare right into our eyes. How to be safe? What is the solution? Who can keep us safe? Well, maybe God can, but we try too. We provide solutions. We help keep the industry safe and give you round-the-clock visibility of your assets. Maybe God can, but we try too. We provide solutions. We help keep the industry safe and give you round-the-clock visibility of your assets. We are the Hacklab Solutions. We follow a 360-degree approach, considering all the three dimensions of safety implementation: management, machines, and workers. With advancement of AI, next-gen automation is all about machines and humans coexisting, each taking care of the other. Our aim, hence, is safety for productivity. We use IoT hardware integration with sharp AI edge processing, real-time environment monitoring, data insights, and worker safety profiling. We estimate risk, employ professionals, analyze scenarios, and provide solutions. Our systems can predict failures, warn you, and take action. Our suite of tracker products cater to major Fortune 500 companies and several industrial sectors ranging from FMCG, logistics, mining to metals, and manufacturing. Our safety product verticals include collision avoidance system, pedestrian alert system, AI-based compliance monitoring, safety interlocks, and smart traffic management system. Our security product verticals include tracker tags, smart tracker cam, tracker PA system. We have been recognized as the best Indian startup in the automation domain by Technovation Awards conducted by India Electronics and Semiconductor Association, IESA. We won the award for the Best Company and Innovation Showcase category by SIC IT Kanpur. We have gained trust of clients like Unilever, ITC, Pindalco Industries, and top Fortune 500 companies availing our products and services.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Hacklab podcast. Today, our topic of discussion is safety at the design stage with Mr. Subba Rao. Safety isn't just about following regulations. It begins at the very first stage of design. Whether you're planning a warehouse, a factory, or a refinery. In this episode, we'll explore how preventive strategies, policies, and mindsets shape safer workplaces and why safety is not an expense but an investment for long-term success. Thank you, Subba Rao sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Amber, for inviting me to this important topic, which is often neglected in
sir.
India.
Sir, as we start our podcast today, I would request you to introduce yourself for our audience.
I'm a mechanical engineer, and for the last 40 years, I'm working in the field of safety and loss prevention. I work currently as a senior advisor at Cholaman's Risk Services, where I had worked for the last 7+ years In fact, I can safely say that it started in 1998, and today we have reached 450 plus engineers. And apart from this position, I also manage another business in the group, which is into wastewater treatment as its director. And I'm also director in Inogen, a global alliance of EHS consultants across the world, which is ranked 13 in the world.
Thank you, sir, again for joining us today. And let's get started. I would like to start with this very basic question, like, why is it critical to focus on safety during the design stage of any project?
Yeah, very good question, Amber. Actually, when we are designing something, the intention of any person or any organization for that matter is that the intention is fully realized. Say, for example, you are building a warehouse, you want goods to be stored there. You build a hospital, you want people to be treated there. You build a residential complex, you want people to stay there. You build a oil and gas refinery, you expect the oil to be processed there. So there is an intent with which we are doing. Suppose that intent is not met because it is not designed in a proper fashion, then the whole investment goes waste. So in our long experience of providing safety consulting, both in India and abroad, we find time and again that close to, I can safely say, between 35 to 40% of the accidents are caused due to poor design. Means safety was not considered appropriately. I'm not saying zero, but appropriately at the design stage. Means enough debate has not happened on some of the choices that we are making. That is leading to this kind of catastrophic incident that has happened, right? Somewhere the checks and balances which were supposed to be effective in preventing that from happening has not happened. We at Chola Risk, we always insist on following certain principles and guidelines and certain tough questions we need to ask at the design stage so that you don't repent. Because the fact of the matter is, the guys who have built, the guys who have done the fitting, all of them will vanish, and it is left to the operating personnel to maintain it. And then when things happen, you question why this was selected or why this was not selected, why this thing has happened, and you don't have much of a rationale for selection. So that's why we are saying safety at the design stage is very much essential, so as not to repent at the latter stage that this incident could have been prevented. So our strong conviction is that if you consider safety at the design stage, we can safely say that the major catastrophic events can be safely avoided.
So, sir, when we are talking about the design stage, is the construction part of design stage, or design stage comes before the construction starts?
Yeah, actually, it is construction is according to is the third stage. One is concept stage. At the concept stage itself, we have to consider various choices. Then engineering stage. Construction stage is an execution of the plans that you have prepared at the detailed engineering stage, right? Then the pre-startup, and then your operations, and then finally, sometime later, after the end of life cycle, you may have to again dismantle. So this is a whole cycle of things that happen. But when we are talking about design, we are talking about the design at the concept and detailed engineering stage we are talking about.
Sure. So when we are talking about the design stage, like, what are the different stakeholders that are involved in this design stage?
Yeah, the primary stakeholder is the project proponent, means those who are conceiving the project is the main person who has to give the briefing to his designers on to what level of detailing that needs to be done. See, I'll give you a simple example. You decide, I'm giving a very basic things. I'm not going into oil and gas or fertilizer or petrochemical complex. I'm saying day-to-day things that can happen or can go wrong. Supposing that you want to construct a warehouse and you have choices of places shown by people, and if you have to make a choice, how do you make a choice? It's not okay. Connectivity is very important
Right.
for warehouse. I do agree. But apart from connectivity and price, you may have to consider a lot of other things also, like what is the flood proneness
Right.
of that area, and have you seen the at least the last 50 years, if not 100 years, history of that area, and what is the upstream, downstream, which can inundate this place. So there are, what I would say, many factors to be considered, and we are seeing time and again that these simple things getting neglected. In fact, I remember visiting one warehouse which is at the dead end of a street. Unfortunately, the fire happened, and the biggest problem
Fire
was
extinguisher.
how do the fire brigade?
Yeah.
No, the fire brigade vehicle has to come back in reverse direction. Imagine with all that connections and all that, every time dismantling and putting it back, robbed of everything. Of course, there was nothing to extinguish. After, of course, the company went into various prevention measures, but then uh, finding a place at the dead end of the street where you don't have access, the choice makes a lot of, I can say that it makes easier for the people to control emergencies or any untoward things that happen. Yes, we wish nothing should happen, but in this world of uncertainty, variety of factors can combine, can lead to an accident. That's what we are seeing every day. So that's why the design intent has to be very clear. So that is point one. Point two is that there should be enough debate on what is the risk that has been considered and how are we going to bring that risk to acceptable level. And if we are bringing the risk to the acceptable level, what is the layer of protection that we are introducing? These are all very essential to debate in the beginning and then provide appropriate budgets. But I would say 7 out of 10 cases, right? Or we can say even 9 out of 10 cases also, you find that the discussion doesn't happen. So I find that suddenly you build a building and somebody comes and says, where is the emergency escape? Then you try to figure it out how to put it. And then you try to put a metal emergency escape, and people like me will come and say metal is not acceptable. A variety of things are happening. So my point of contention is that if we have debated about this before, today we don't have that point of discussion.
And sir, while you were sharing this information, I was thinking about a recent accident in Delhi that happened during the rainy season, and kids died in their library, which was underground. So I think it is a very important topic discussion.
Yeah. So when we change the occupancy, in this case, the change of occupancy, we also should consider the risk, right? Earlier, I don't have full details of that case, but if we are changing the occupancy, definitely the risk assessment needs to be done and appropriate measures to be taken. See, now there is enough knowledge and tools are available to do these things. I would say 25 years back when we started the company, both the tools are not there, awareness is not there. So it was a very tough situation to convince people to look at all these things.
So, sir, moving forward, what are the most common risks in environments like factories, warehouses, and refineries?
When you say most common risk, I would say the sources of ignition, right? It could be electrical, it could be chemicals, it could be the way you store the materials. One should be aware of the sources of ignition, because for the fire to happen, you require 4 components. The only thing missing is the right source of ignition. Otherwise, everything is combustible in this world. If you are aware of these sources of ignition, that is the uncontrol of them, is the main thing that you should look at while designing these things.
Sure. So, how can risk assessment tools help identify hazards early on in this stage?
See, there are various risk assessment tools that are available now to do the risk assessment. Okay. If you don't want to do any risk assessment or a formal studies also, if you follow the guidelines that are given, these statutes, codes of practices, standards, then reasonable level of safety can be achieved. So there are two ways of approaching the problem. Instead of saying problem, I think better we say opportunity for improvement, because this is actually we are improving the situation or
Right.
de-risking to an extent. One is to give a brief to clearly say, show me what is the risk that you have considered and how you have done to, what you have done to de-risk them. Say, for example, you are in a coastal area, you are going to have definitely a lot of thunderstorms. So is lightning, right?
Mhm.
So what kind of lightning protection systems you have followed or designed, right? Then when you say lightning protection system, you should not just stop at that. You should ask what standard you have followed, right? And what is the design basis for that? So you should go at least 2 steps to inquire with your designer, architect, whoever it is, to design appropriate systems. Then of course the question of comes of maintenance and sustenance and all that. But first of all, something should be there for us to de-risk, right? But if you are not doing that,
Yes.
then we are later facing issues with respect to spikes or with respect to fire or with respect to a variety of things. The basic things that one has to do at the design stage and ask those appropriate questions is one way. Other way is that we have very good
Mhm.
standards, very good codes of practices, and we should ask the whoever is the designer, architect, or engineer to refer what all things he is following that is written in the statutes. So
Sure, sir.
fundamental mistakes are a lot of times are made, and which results in you may have a protection system, but you may not, if you have not followed the proper guidelines, that can also result in they being there but not really useful. We have seen that kind of things also happening. Say, for example, hydrant systems not properly placed, detection systems, the detection systems, especially detectors not properly placed, resulting in when there is a smoke or a fire, it was not detected in time, wrong placement of detector. So there are variety of things that one has to do. If we are not doing that,
Yes.
say, for example, you are having a electric panel at the basement. The simplest thing
Mhm.
that one can anticipate is that yes, whatever we may do, sometimes the water can enter.
Mhm.
But if the panel
Yes.
cables are entering from bottom, you can never use them. But if they are entering from the top, at least if the water level is a little bit low, you can take some risk. But after the basement is flooded, you find that the cables are also under it. Then you don't dare to touch it. So a
Yes.
lot of de-risking or thinking has to happen at the design stage. So my point is that a stitch in time saves nine. So you do this, then you need not have to repent. So for variety
Correct.
of industries, there are variety of techniques available, right? If it is a
Okay.
chemical industry, you do something like HAZOP, QRA, fire and gas detection mapping. Then you do a QRA to even design passive fire protection systems because you know the now the radiation levels. Then you also do variety of other studies to ensure that safety is built in into the system.
So, what strategies can companies adopt to ensure that safety becomes part of the design?
Yeah. See, normally nowadays we are advising companies in two ways because in India, safety at the design stage, even in large companies, is still not widely practiced. So we suggest what is called project
Okay.
gate system. Project gate system is a very simple system at every stage of the project, like you mentioned, no construction. Before that, I was saying that conceptual engineering, construction,
Yes.
pre-commissioning. At every stage, the designer has to demonstrate that he has considered all the risks and then incorporated the risk control measures so that the gate is open for the next stage. So that is the main
Okay.
strategy that companies are now adopting so that even at the board level, you have an assurance. Issues are considered adequately debated and a conscious decision has been taken on what to adopt or not to
Right.
adopt. Say simple things I will tell you. Say, for example, you are laying a cable for fire detection system. So what kind of cable? Is fire retardant low smoke is okay? Or you have other cables which can withstand fire and then can provide the support. So you have to make a call. So it's again question of what is the risk you anticipate and how you do that. So we suggest companies to adopt this project gate system so that de-risking happens to a great extent. And even if some things are not addressed, then they will come out in pre-startup safety reviews. So that nowadays it is common in India also to do pre-occupancy inspections for buildings. Yeah, the tenants are taking that much precaution that before we occupy, let me see how far it meets the standards, and it could be from emergency routes to systems to battery storage to detection systems to fire protection, active, passive, including indoor air quality also. People are now going for pre-inspection before starting an office, I would say. So imagine if that kind of care is being taken at the office or retail establishment level. You can imagine that what kind of care you should take if you are handling hundreds of tons of LPG, chlorine, ammonia, all other kinds of solvents. It is essential that in your approval process, you integrate this design review process also, safety design review, so that there is no compromises. And I would say there is no surprise rather than compromise, I would say.
Yeah.
I would also want to say one more thing, Amber. The discomfort tolerance is also coming down. Means your ability to face bad news, and then you being at the helm of affairs and you have not asked these appropriate questions so that this is not incorporated, is not getting accepted.
That's a good
anymore.
thing. Yeah. So, like, for example, I buy a flat in Bangalore, and can I hire a consultant who can do this risk safety assessment of my apartment and give me a checklist?
Actually, those kind of companies have come. I've seen them. For example, if you go to developed countries, you have these inspections like for plumbing, heating, electrical, fire, and all that. That has come in India because you are very right. You occupy the flat and then you discover that there are so many lacuna. And you may see all those gadgets, but whether they are really in working condition, they are connected to something, all that is
questionable.
You require assurance. But yeah, questionable. Amber, to be very honest, I think that particular thing, especially for residential apartments, pre-acceptance inspections is yet to really take off in India. Because I see the point is you are the interested party, but then the builder is not the interested party. And if the builder cooperation is not there, you may appoint someone, but if he is not getting the drawings, if he is not getting, say for example, I will ask, if you appoint me, I will ask, give me design basis fire protection system. Means basically I'm asking, what are the inspections you made? Right? He will say, I will have with my consultant, but he may be, and at best he will say, oh, I got approval from statutory authorities. Who are you to question? Well, I agree that these approvals are in place, but I would like to get a reassurance is the point I'm trying to make. So it will be some time, but I'm seeing a 3-year horizon for these services to come in a picture. While I'm saying so, we at Cholaris are attached to some embassies in country, and those embassies, before they allow their senior, these consul generals or ambassadors to stay in that house, they get certified by us. And also there is one MNC in India which has a contract with us, and then we certify close to about 50 apartments per year that they are safe to live. Because there are incidents, even when we are saying this consulars and ambassadors and all, there is an incident of one ambassador losing life because he was using the hair dryer and he died of electric shock. So what you say is correct. Yes, you require an assurance process. And unfortunately in India, the rating system for buildings is yet to take off. I'm personally trying my level best to bring in. Hopefully in 2025, I am successful in having a rating system for fire and electrical
Okay.
in the country.
Sir, I wish you the best for that push which you are doing. Yeah.
Yes. Because as you very rightly said, I see a large building of 30 storied or 50 storied. As an individual, how can I say that? How can I feel confident
Yes,
that
yes.
everything is okay?
Sir, I can share an example with you in the US. So even when I'm cooking, three time three times the fire alarm goes off because of the smoke coming out of paratha,
Hmm. Correct. I understand. See, the point is, okay, by the way, your smoke alarm is going off means it's in happy
Yeah,
condition. Be happy.
true.
Yeah. So it is reset to in the failure mode analysis, you will find that it's a bell
Mhm.
curve kind of thing. So the moment you are having this alarm, that means now
Sure, sir.
it's okay.
Moving on to the policy and the legislation part. Do you think the current safety
Hmm.
policies and legislation are sufficient?
Definitely, we are much better than many countries, no doubt on that. I can vouch for it because day in and
Yes.
day out we are looking at it, and we are also associated with
Right.
some of them, right? I would say that we are very progressive
Mhm.
legislation. The point that begs attention is how far we are adapting it to
Yes.
the true spirit. Our discipline to compliance, that whatever that is written, is something that can be further
Yes, I
improved.
understand.
Otherwise, I would say the statutes, policy guidelines, codes of practices, standards are adequate. It is comparable to any developed country. We are not, okay, here and there could be some bits of gaps would be there. But by and large, if you ask me, if you strictly follow what is written in the statutes in the true spirit, at the design stage, you can safely say that 80% of the risk or 90% of the risk you would have safely covered and you would have adequate
Right.
measures. But the question that comes is that there are enough from our side. Say, as a owner, you asked. So, as a project proponent side, there is not enough knowledge, even at the
Okay.
board level, to ask tough questions on this particular thing. You will find that still in the country, a lot of boards are still in
Mhm.
reactive mode only. Very few boards we have seen are in a positive, because the fundamental question we need to ask is whether this could have been
Yes.
prevented.
True.
So the legislation is progressive and it's constantly changing. And if you see our national building code and all, they are so big that you will get sleep as soon as you see them.
Yes. Yes. So, sir, I was thinking like you have a lot of global experience as well. So let's just take Singapore,
Hmm.
United States, and India. So how would you
Hmm.
compare these three if in
In
terms
terms of
of
what?
the precautions or at the or the debate which happens in the design stage?
Actually, if you ask me, it is not comparable at all, right? I will say this way, Amber, that we dare not think of not complying with anything that is written there. As simple as that. But here we see how do we meet the standards rather than actually follow the standards. We feel deviation is okay. So the discipline part of it, in strictly following the guidelines, is something is the basic difference between those countries and our countries, not lack of
Correct.
legislation.
Understood.
And the second thing is the
Mhm.
awareness. Awareness, right from board level to junior most level, is
Yes.
the gap has to be
Right.
addressed. Today, in fact, I am challenging some of the managements, even in chemical industries, because the managers there never got exposed to this much of scientific knowledge on safety when they were studying
Okay.
engineering, right? So even, in fact, I am challenging managements. I'll give you a report now. Can you comment on this?
Mhm.
It is purely technical, right? So the need for capability building across has to improve, which is a constant process. That is one. The third thing is that anything has to be standardized, in the sense we need to use the standardized products. And third is that there is an expertise for everything, not by longevity of continuing in that profession. Unfortunately, that ecosystem of Tify to operate is still has to take deep roots in the country with respect to safety.
Understood. Yes.
So we are trying our level best to improve the skills at the ground level so that the overall safety gets.
And so you mentioned a point about safety education. So with our previous guest, we were talking a lot about how to incorporate new curriculum of safety engineering or fire engineering in engineering colleges across India.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's a subject on which we are also working very deeply. We, apart from consulting work, we are deeply associated with a lot of statutory bodies in putting together. Like for simple thing, about a decade back, we worked with one of the government departments on safety auditor. Who can become a safety auditor, right? Anyone with experience can become, or there should be some qualification. So we designed the syllabi, we designed the course, we in fact delivered the course also. We try to do it. Similarly, for HAZOP chairman, there is no certification course for HAZOP chairman in India. It's quite unfortunate that less than 40 colleges are there in the country offering safety in MTech level and BTech level. Whereas there is a requirement of thousands of people even in construction sector. So we are actively trying to work with some of the government of India organizations in trying to bridge this gap. Hopefully that in the coming years this particular gap in skill sets is addressed so that country is more
Yes,
safe
yes.
and the risks are addressed in a very positive
Sure,
fashion.
sir. Sir, why do some companies or many companies see safety as a burden rather than an investment?
Mm.
This is the basic question.
Mm. See, the concept of safety has to be understood in a broad context in India, particular, right? Now, if you ask a common man why do accidents happen, what is the answer you get, Amber? You tell me with your experience.
Wow, why do accidents happen? It's a tough question to answer. Maybe,
Majority of the people will say it is fate, right? It has to
okay,
happen. It
okay,
has
yes.
happened. Correct, no? So we strongly believe in karma theory, and then we feel that nothing can be prevented, all
Mhm.
that, correct? But we fail to ask whether we have done enough to prevent something from
Yes,
happening. Okay, that is point number one. Point number two is that safety is still seen as an expensive item. You buy a expensive two-wheeler, four-wheeler, two-wheeler, but you don't buy a
yeah,
helmet. You buy a vehicle, but you don't really see the safety rating of that vehicle. So, like you are buying an apartment, did you ask the safety question?
right.
You didn't.
True,
Am I
true,
right?
yes,
Yeah, so safety was never a consideration for you there. It is a price that is a consideration. So, in a country which is price sensitive, it is but natural that people think that safety is an expensive item. But it's not true. Studies have proven, and also we have worked with a number of companies. The resounding underlining thing that everyone says is that with safety, we improved productivity, we improved
Mhm.
quality, and we improved the confidence of the people. And we have seen other benefits because companies are following safety. Like one company recently said, which we never imagined, sir, now for me to get the contract laborer has become easy because everyone is saying that this company is very safe, let's
Right.
work here. So, which was not the intent when we started the safety intervention program. There are two things, Amber, here. We are yet to do a lot of studies to clearly prove what is the ROI for
Okay,
this, right? But worldwide studies have shown that if you clearly invest in safety, there is an improvement between 2% to 4% net at the
okay,
bottom line. Yeah, it's a big thing for many companies. It's not for nothing that companies are investing in safety. See, what is missing in India to have that myopic view that safety is expensive is that we truly don't calculate the cost. Imagine that there is an injury in your factory or warehouse. How much time will go in the management bandwidth in trying to manage that incident?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Are we putting a cost of, say, 1 man hour or 10 man hours of the manager going in trying to? And what about the morale of the people who are
Yes,
working there? See, if the productivity comes down by some 5%, we are not able to understand
yes,
that, right? So I feel that in the if we can do a serious study on investment, definitely you can find that there is an it clearly meets all the requirements of the financial analyst, if you can
yeah,
ask me.
true.
Yeah. And then you can't put a price on a laughing face of employees as well as the managers when there is no incident. Say, for example, recently one of our customer has celebrated building a cement plant of 3.3 million tons without any lost time injury, right? Now, which is a
Yes,
great that we have
mm,
not injured anyone here, everyone went home safe.
right.
And it's not the money there, it's the kind of happiness that we are able to save lives. And that has to be felt, not can be exactly be
Yes,
measured.
yes, yes,
We are moving in that direction, but very slow.
true. And like you said, that taking this long vision or the long-term approach, if some death happen and there's a loss to the brand equity, there's a lawsuit. So those factors should also be considered in the ROI calculation.
Correct. Reputation risk is very difficult to put a price to it, correct?
Mhm.
And it can sometimes be never erased. We have seen our country, Bhopal gas tragedy types, right? And there
Yes,
are incidents which have completely, those companies have gone out of business, Amber. I would say that.
right,
And the
right,
brand, as you very rightly said, he has suffered uh,
mhm,
immeasurable loss.
right, right.
Yes. So, but it's very difficult to put a price to that, right?
Mhm.
You, as a, whether you could be a warehouse manager or a project proponent of a refinery or a data center or anything, you have the responsibility of taking care of your people with
Yes,
respect to safety, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, moving on into this brand side, why don't manufacturing companies advertise their safety measures more actively? For example, we can say we know Volvo as the safest car company when
Car,
it comes to our
yeah,
mind.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's sorry, giving your example, when you purchase that flat, you never ask for safety, right? So safety is not yet a selling point.
Right, right.
But slowly it is moving, slow and steady. You will find, if I see 1 in 1,000 advertisements, I feel safety is getting mentioned. And I every time I see that kind of advertisement, I feel happy. Ah, okay, safety is coming to the fore.
Right.
We have seen some business centers advertising, saying that we are more healthy than the Alps and the Switzerland types,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So there, the selling point is that we have a clean indoor air quality and all.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before the society
Yeah.
takes this into consideration and gives its priority. But companies definitely, when they are making choices of new premises, warehouses, definitely safety is the main criteria for them. In fact, we have seen that the another interesting development is that when PE players wants to invest, they're talking about safety.
Mhm.
It's safe to invest in that. What is their safety record? Whether we can really improve what is their culture, which was never there before. We were also seeing that mergers and acquisitions, apart from environment, safety is also now a major point for discussion.
Yes, the more the conversation, the better, I think.
The better, yeah, naturally. You understand the risk better, right?
Sir, as we come to the closing of our podcast, I would like to get some of your thoughts on. So, the technology is evolving very fast, and technology has a
Mm.
lot of part to play in improving the safety in the future as well. So, how do you see technology and safety?
Oh, yeah, that's a very interesting and passionate topic for me. I see technology is going to revolutionize the way safety is managed going forward, especially with respect to video analytics, data analytics,
Yes.
and AI is going to transform the way safety is going to be managed in future. We would reach a stage where we have now, we can analyze when something can going to happen. We can similar way can predict whether this area is accident prone or we need to take adequate measures, because so much data is coming in, and
Yes.
we should be able to do right now. Of course, the video analytics at a basic level is being followed by many companies, like to spot who is not wearing PPE, whether the requisite steps are being followed while loading unloading materials. All those kind of video analytics part has come.
Yes.
At construction site, it's getting remotely monitored, so all those things are coming. So technology is going to fast forward the development of what has not happened in the last 2 decades will going to happen in 3 to 4 years. Everything becomes intelligent, and it will
Yeah.
start sending signals, and you need to monitor them more appropriately,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Yes.
So and also automation, use of robotics, all those things are also going to improve. Of course, another set of risk may be introduced, but definitely it is going to
Yeah.
change the landscape of safety in the coming future.
Understood. So it was a great discussion, sir, today with you. As we wrap up today's discussion, remember, safety isn't just about compliance. It's about creating environments where workers thrive and risks are minimized. By integrating safety at the design stage, we prevent accidents, reduce cost, and build trust. Let safety be the cornerstone of every project you plan, because a safe workplace is a productive one. Thank you, sir, for joining us. And until next time, stay safe and stay proactive.
Thanks, Amber. Nice meeting you. And I wish all the listeners Happy New Year. Apart from that, I wish all of you that you take adequate care at the design stage when you are planning the new projects.
Sure, sir. Thank you. And I wish you a very happy new year as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber, for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.